Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Travel Collective. We're here today to learn a little bit about making travel fun, easy, and educational. And in this episode, we're going to talk about how to protect your cash and your valuables when you travel. It's a very important aspect of traveling because you cannot be without your cash and your valuables. So let's kind of start off, if you don't mind. We'll ask around to everybody if you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about what are some of the valuables besides cash that you travel with. How about we start with Linda?
I'm Linda. I am a travel writer who also takes writers on writing retreats, typically in seaside beach houses in the off season. So it's affordable and it's fun. I'm super cautious. Why? Because I grew up in New York City, so nothing leaves my sight. I'm also very forgetful. Like if I'm talking and I use my hands a lot, married to an Italian guy, I will put things down without thinking about it. I have been known to leave my phone in the restroom just before I board the plane. So what do I do? I always make sure that I have, because particularly for devices, I always make sure I have a neck wallet because I literally need to have it on my body. I mean, I do use a crossbody bag, but I need to have it like right here. So I'm sort of like a kangaroo with her, her little pouch. So my valuables are definitely my devices. And if I don't feel the weight of them on my chest, I know I'm in trouble.
That's a good thing. That's a very positive, very positive. How about April? What do you
Yeah,
do?
my name's April, and I'm with the Travel Collective. I'm also a photographer, so the valuables I'm traveling with is often a couple, depending on how long the trip is and where exactly I'm going. Besides my cell phone, I've got a couple camera bodies. I might have some lenses, and usually, oftentimes, a laptop. So it's just a lot of electronics. So I am trying to put them in oftentimes I'll just buy a regular, like right now it's back to school time when we're doing this, but all through the year you can find backpacks that aren't a camera bag. So I'll take one of those and use it as my carry-on just to be nondescript. Again, make sure all my camera bodies have, they don't look like, I don't have the brand name emblazoned on them. I often even will take black duct tape and cover the front of the body where it shows the brand and the model, because sometimes people are looking for certain types of cameras.
That's outstanding advice. Nikki, what can you share?
One of the things I try not to travel with jewelry, but you got your wedding rings and you've got your normal jewelry that you travel with. So one of the things I make sure of is I try not to take them off when I'm in the hotel rooms or any of the places we're staying, just so I don't forget them, because I can be a ditz and forget things. And the other thing is I make sure that they're insured, so that if something does happen, that I can just take it. Just take it, because it's not worth the fight over. It's not worth the fight over a ring or over anything like that. And like I said, I try not to travel too much, but sometimes, especially, when you're doing more of like the cruises and things like that, and you're getting dressed up, it's nice to take your jewelry and things. And so, like I said, making sure it's insured. So if there is any problems, and keeping it close by me.
That's good. Good advice. Very good advice. Cindy, what can you share with us?
I am a gadget gal also, so I travel with my laptop almost always. If I go without my laptop, it must be a very relaxing trip because I'm always with my laptop. And there's an app called Prey, Prey, and that I've been using that for a long time on my laptop. It was much better than, it's kind of like Find My Phone. Works in the same way, but it works on your laptop. But the other thing that Prey does is it turns on the camera. So once if your device has been stolen, you can activate it, and anytime that device gets turned on, it'll turn on the camera. The person doesn't know that the camera's turned on, so you can see who has your device. It turns on GPS, just like anything else. It turns on all of these things and tracks where it is, because obviously if your laptop is stolen, and I've heard some horror stories about the police in other countries, and even in our own country, would just say, I don't know how to help you. Somebody stole it. Finding that individual laptop is really difficult. But if you can track down the location, the building that it's possibly in, maybe a picture of the person who's sitting in front of it, that'll definitely help you identify. I've never had to use it, but I do always make sure that app is on my device, and then make sure that something like Find My Phone or something else is on those devices in case I'm going to lose it, because I am super paranoid about losing my laptop. I back everything up to the cloud. I do that multiple times when I'm traveling. I'm sure you do that too, April, with photos.
Yeah.
Like, it's a scary thing, not just to stolen, but lost, right? Like they're just all car damaged in some way. So when we're so device dependent,
I know.
Those are some brilliant ideas.
Yeah.
As a retired police officer, I will say that pictures are like gold to us, because obviously then there's no dispute. You can't say, well, I just look like that person. That could be that person. It's like solid evidence right then and there. So that's really a brilliant idea. I travel the same thing. I have a neck. Let me try that in English. I have a neck wallet, the same way I do the same thing. I also have a fanny pack that I carry, which is, I know it's kind of cliche, but the fanny pack that I have also works. It kind of attaches to the inside of my belt, so that if somebody tries to grab it and run, they're going to take my pants with them. Me. So it's kind of, I use those. I also would recommend, if you don't mind me sharing some insight, if any of the women out there who are carrying a purse, make sure you strap it over your shoulder so that it's not just hanging on one shoulder, and walk with it in front of you. It might be a little uncomfortable for a while, but when you have it in front of you, you have a hold of it. If you're walking with a wallet, men or women, don't put the wallet in your back pocket, put the wallet in your front pocket. And if need be, put your hand on your wallet in your pocket as you're walking. Especially if you're walking through a group of individuals, because especially pickpockets in certain areas are really good at what they do. And as long as you have a hold of it and at least in front of you, or you've got it in your pocket, in your front pocket, they can't quite get to it. If you have your hand on it inside your pocket, it's going to make it more difficult for them to do as well. I also, whenever we travel, and even domestically, I always make a list of all the credit cards and the phone numbers to my credit cards, and then I keep that in a piece of paper, folded up piece of paper in another pocket, so that if something happens to my wallet, if for some reason we lose it, then we've got credit card numbers right there with us, credit card phone number right there with us, so we can call immediately, because there's a lot of times we can go get another immediate replacement, or I obviously shut them down before anybody can do anything with them. So that's kind of my insight with that.
That's a really good tip, Michael. A lot of people don't think to write down that. I do write down the credit card, the 800 number on the back of my card. I write the name of the card. It's a Chase card, and here's the 800 number. I don't need the credit card number itself. I just write that number because I can call them. Because if you lose your card, you have to find that 800 number. Like, and you're right. The sooner you can get on the phone with them, the sooner you can cancel it. So I've had to do that a couple of times when I was traveling. I've lost credit cards, left them someplace, Linda laid it down or whatever. And then it's so nice to be able to I can just grab that piece of paper and call. Yeah, so helpful. Good tip.
Speaking of everything we just talked about and pickpockets, has anybody ever had anything stolen while you've been on a trip?
I have not. I haven't. I've been lucky. So
you're a lucky traveler, Nikki.
I'm a lucky traveler. I've been a lucky traveler lately.
I'm a lucky traveler too, but if you consider the ocean as a thief, well, on my honeymoon, my disastrous honeymoon, which I've talked about elsewhere, my husband went snorkeling and his wedding band slipped off and fell into the water underneath. And, he spent hours on that beach, never found it.
Wow.
So so I do think that the ocean is a thief, and I'm hoping that she will have a change of heart. And I walk every beach and I always look and I think, will it be returned to me? The wedding, the marriage is still going strong.
Right. Well, that's good.
Later, so that's good. That's good.
The bond is there without the ring. See, the bond is there without the ring. And maybe
Yeah,
my
well, tell that to a newlywed who is convinced that's the sign that you're going to get divorced within a year.
Oh no, yeah,
I have almost been there. Almost. I do
Somebody was in
understand.
trouble.
yeah. I was gonna say. Me too.
Yeah, it's like I was snorkeling. I lost my wedding ring. I really did. I honestly did.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had anything stolen. And I will say that I stay in hostels and I do that kind of thing, and I've never had anything stolen.
Wow.
I'm trying to think if I've ever had anything like pickpocketed. No, I just, again, lucky, Nikki. We've been very, very lucky. And some of it I think is just keeping your head up. I do definitely think it helps to, if you're an aware traveler, you're less likely to be targeted, because I do always have my hand on my purse. It is always in front of me, Michael. That I've learned that lesson too. And I have a crossbody, and so those kinds of things. I've heard stories, so I'm hoping I never
Have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's losing something, especially even in a different state, is difficult, and a different country makes it much more difficult. So,
Right.
and I think we should. Does anybody have any tips that they can share with some of the things that you've done to maybe protect your cash and your valuables? I mean, I know that I just discussed a couple of them, but how about Linda? Let's start with you.
I always travel with a different kind of bag. So when I get to my destination, because I tend to travel with a larger leather bag because I can cram more things, but I always carry something like, a lighter nylon Le Sport sack, which has really secure handles. So it's the woven handle, it's securely sewed in. And I always make sure that I have a bag. It's a crossbody, but I make sure that it not only has a flap that buckles shut, but also zips inside, so that you really are going to have to struggle to get it off of me. And I do exactly what you suggested, Michael. I carry it up front and I hold on to it like I'm pregnant. It's like you're caressing that baby in your belly. I'm caressing the bag full of whatever I'm currently carrying. I'm very, I was born and raised in New York City, so I am suspicious by nature, and everybody's out to get me, and I don't let anything out of my sight.
Yeah.
And you don't even have a Brooklyn accent.
Well, when I'm really tired, I want a cup of coffee, but that's the only time you'll ever hear it. You know what? I worked too many years in broadcast. I got rid of all those habits.
I understand. I had a partner actually worked under me. I was a sergeant. He was a retired sergeant from New York City Police Department, NYPD. And when he came out to Colorado, because where I was a cop, he had a very unique Brooklyn accent. That he'd walk up and talk to somebody in a car, and he was walking up. Different story, but he was walking up the car, and some people didn't understand him. They'd go, "What?" And he'd have to repeat
You
himself.
know what? I bet he would say something like, instead of saying Bertha's birthday party, he would say Bertha's birthday party. Right? Yeah, that would be Brooklyn. That would be Brooklyn.
That would be Brooklyn. Yes, it would.
Hilarious.
Nikki, did I get you? I got you. Did I get you?
One of the things actually that I travel with, like we're talking about purses and stuff, is I carry it. So I carry it across me, but it has multiple zippers on it.
Yeah.
So I'm able to put like my passport in it. So I'm not accessing my passport during the flight, except when I'm going through customs and things like that. And I'm able to kind of keep my money separate from like pulling out my cell phone. So I'm not commingling. So you kind of get like the separate things, because I lost a tablet once because I pulled it out of the backpack, and when I went to put it back in the backpack, it didn't go under the floor, and somebody got really blessed. It was brand new. It hadn't even been turned on. But if you can keep it all right on you, it is really nice. And then spacing it out, making sure that you carry it in multiple places, your money, so that you've got, so if something does happen, you're not stuck, and trying to make sure that at least you've got enough for a taxi to get you from one place back to your hotel, put somewhere else on your personal body. Like I know for like women, they make bras and stuff with little zippers and stuff. And like men, they've got underwear with pockets and zippers and things like that. Kind of makes it so at least you have that. If you get in a situation of being pickpocketed or just losing what you've got, you're able to at least get back to your hotel so you can make the phone calls and things you need to do to clear things up.
So really good tip.
I would also when you were talking about saving all the credit card stuff, making Xerox copies of your passport and your driver's license
Yes.
and leaving them somewhere other that you're not traveling, so you have access to them, like in Dropbox or something, so that you can pull those down, because it really sucks if you're in another country and you lose that passport. It's going to speed that process up. Or if you happen to lose your driver's license, now you can't board domestic flights without those. So you're able to have at least some kind of proof that you've got some kind of identification with you.
Yeah.
Brilliant ideas. I should have mentioned that earlier. Brilliant ideas. In what you had said, guys, at least we've done this. I put cash in one pocket, in my wallet in the other pocket. It still has my credit cards and other cash, but I put a certain amount of cash in my right pocket, so it's always there just in case. So brilliant idea. April, did I ask you?
I don't know. I shared a few
Well,
things.
let's
I mean,
ask you.
yeah, yeah. Well, I do like a one of those little passport bags, and I cram stuff in it, and it's actually most of the time like underneath my jacket, underneath my shirt. So again, I always feel like, they say like, if there was an emergency and you have to get off the plane, I'd still have my ID, I'd still have some cash, I'd still have my passport, and I do the same thing, photocopy, the phone numbers, and have them stuck somewhere, so they can easily access them later. If I'm traveling with others, like oftentimes I travel with my dad, we'll split up our cash. We'll have cash in different places on ourselves. Just all of those things. And then, like I said, with the cameras, I always try to just make them look cheap and beat up, and like take the duct tape and cover up the fact that it says Canon, swap out your strap. I mean, simple little things that don't cost a lot. I mean, I have a new Sony camera, and if someone knew it's a Sony, they just see it as money. But if it looks like it's just got a duct tape wrapped strap and, they can't really tell what it is, it's going to hopefully deter them. And then, like Linda mentioned too, like when I'm on public transport in Europe and stuff, I've got everything, like I just have that backpack in front of me, my arms around it, even though it's a nondescript school bag. I'm just like super, again, it's that awareness, even though I grew up in the Midwest and people left their doors and cars unlocked. I don't know. I grew up like with that street sense kind of like, I'm always scanning the area I'm in. Being with my husband when he's a musician, even if we're at a restaurant, I'm always kind of like, where are we going to sit? Where's the door? I'm always kind of thinking one step ahead. And if someone's kind of, I don't know, there was a time at a restaurant where we weren't sure what their game was with the bill and asking for like part of the money up front. It just seemed all weird. And then they wanted us to go get cash instead. Pretty soon we just pretty much like just kind of gave them some money and got up and left. And we were kind of concerned, like if they were going to follow us. We just didn't quite get what was just weird, some of those things.
Trust your gut. Number one rule for sure is trust your, if it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be rude, like you said, Michael. If it doesn't feel right, just bow out, move away. Yeah, because it's probably not okay.
Awareness is the key. I mean, that's the perfect word of putting it. Just you have to be aware. You don't have to be rude. Just be aware. Be polite. Be aware. And that can get you out of most any situation, just to make sure that you're aware. Because it's proactive approach is what it is.
Yeah,
it's like a proactive approach to your own safety and your well-being. And you don't have to take a baseball bat with you and start swinging it around to everybody get away from me.
Yeah, you don't need to go on the defensive. It's offensive, right? It's like you being prepared. And I definitely feel that way. Yeah, and paying attention to your surroundings with people are following you, and I also do what April does, which I cover the labels on my bag. So I have an expensive backpack because it's the one that works the best, the lasts longest. But I have a little kind of like a patch that I just sewed on the label, and on the back of it there's a label, so I sewed one on there, and there was one on the strap, so I sewed something, like just cover it up. Like you'd have to really know, or you would never know what brand name it is. Don't wear brand name clothes, don't wear brand name shoes. You're just making yourself a target. People are looking at that and they think you have money, even if you don't. In other countries, those brand names scream wealthy, right? So, even if I have something that's expensive because I need it, because it's a camera or something that I know is going to be durable and I want to buy that brand, I don't show it off. That's really important. I pay very close attention to that when I'm traveling.
And that can happen in any country.
True.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
Not just the
right.
third world countries. It can happen in any country.
Happen right here. Yep.
Right.
Um, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say the same thing. I think as Americans, and since we're all coming in tonight from the United States, I think we're learning that more and more. That even just here in the U.S., I'm sure people coming to our country, they hear all these things happen, and I think that's just it too. You have to be just as aware
Yes.
here, you know.
Yes.
So it's that same approach.
Yep.
Now I'm in a place where I'm not familiar,
Mhm.
don't know the language. I mean, oftentimes I like to go photograph in the evening. I always make sure to talk to someone at the front desk and tell them, you know, hey, where's a good, is it safe to walk down to photograph the waterfront? Is there a better way to go? You know, in Chicago one night, we were in downtown Chicago and my husband and I were, it was late. We wanted a coffee. And the gentleman at the front desk literally looked at us. He's like, come with me, I'll walk with you. And he walked with us to a coffee shop because I think, again, he just would feel better knowing that we got to the coffee shop, it's late at night, and maybe, you know, we're not big people. So why be a target? Why have, you know, have that on his conscience? So yeah, things like that.
Yeah, that's another thing. You can always talk to somebody at the hotel, talk to somebody at the, wherever you're staying. And a lot of times you'll get that kind of a positive reaction back that can assist you with that situation, which kind of brings us to the next question. Are there any limits to where you travel because of safety issues? Let's start with we'll start it with Nikki.
I don't think there's any limits. I think what the safety issues now, I think would be more country issues instead of safety from the people in those countries. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I don't think that I would give up travel because there might be a higher crime rate. I would have missed a lot of my traveling over the years if I had done that. You know, people are always like, "Oh, you're going to Belize? That's so scary. Oh, you're going down to Central America and Nicaragua. Oh my gosh, you're insane." Or Costa Rica. You know, in some of those areas, you have to be extra super safe. I mean, aware of what's going on around you. I mean, I felt 99% of the time comfortable when we were down in Costa Rica, but some of the times when we were in the cities, I mean, the city was different and you need to protect your belongings and protect the things that are around you.
Mhm.
So I don't think I'd give up travel necessarily because of people per se. I think what would be holding me back now would be more of what would be going on in the world, making sure that I'm going someplace safe. There's some countries that I'd really like to visit that I don't think I'm going to get to because I don't think the countries are safe now. And so it's kind of setting back and seeing how those change over the next few years.
Yeah.
And I'll use Nicaragua as one of those. I mean, I absolutely have done mission trips down there, love them, but I don't know if, depending on where we are during the time, if it's someplace I would go back and spend a longer period of time at. So it depends on where we are in the world during that week or even that travel time, I would say, because
Absolutely.
things can change so quickly. I mean, so
Yeah.
you need to be aware of what's going on around you in the world, because just because everything's cool here doesn't mean that they're not having problems over in England or Scotland or, wherever you're going. You just want to make sure that you're going to be safe on a bigger aspect, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, my nephew and his girlfriend went to France, and right across the street from their hotel, they were having huge protests that showed up that nobody had any clue. And they got a message from the embassy saying, "Hey, this large group is out. They're going to bring out riot police," and you never know; it can change in an instant.
Yep. Absolutely.
In an instant. Cindy? Did I ask you?
No, and I mean, I feel the same way Nikki does. I mean, I know April and I have had this conversation. It's like my limit is if I need an armed guard, I'm not going. So if other humans live there and wander the street freely, I pretty much feel like I should be allowed to do that as well. So I'm comfortable going most places, but like you said, Nikki, it changes at the drop of a hat. So you do need to be kind of politically and world news aware. I mean, it happens here in our own country. So we could, we can be anywhere and all of a sudden it's not safe in this neighborhood, this block, this city, this whatever. But you certainly don't want to put yourself in a place that is already in the midst of a problem, right? So I would avoid those, and those change daily, weekly, all the time. So there's a handful of countries I will not go to until things change, or maybe they'll never change. But if things change, there's no place I wouldn't want to go. I want to see everything.
This works. Yeah, it's. I think we all should have the liberty to be able to enjoy where we want to go and what we want to do. But sometimes something steps in that kind of blocks that, puts an obstacle. But Linda, I
I
didn't forget
too,
about you.
I know you didn't. I haven't felt that there were places that I couldn't go, but I agree with everyone here, because really what it comes down to is awareness and personal responsibility. The thing to me, there was a cautionary tale in that we think sometimes as we approach our hotel, go up in the elevator, walk down the long hallway, and we are right by our rooms, that we're safe. And I learned this because of a fairly prominent children's author who was in her hotel room one night, and she was accessing the key, and all of a sudden someone behind her shoved her inside the room, and then the door was shut, and she was very badly beaten. And it was touch and go for a while. But I realized from her that the way oftentimes hotels are, there's sort of like an alcove where the rooms are, and there's two doors there. I've learned from her, you walk down the entire hallway and then you walk back again, because even though you think, well, I don't want to walk on a hallway alone, if somebody hears you scream, they're going to do something. But once the door is shut and you're inside, your options are much less, in terms of being safe. So I have really become very cautious, especially too, thinking about where are the places that people begin to think, I'm okay now, I don't have to be as aware, because people who do this professionally know the psychology of how we are traveling and where we feel safest. So I am until the door is shut, the bolts are up. I'm like I'm cautious.
Yeah, and it's a good cautionary tale to be aware, even when you're in your room. Like, don't open the door. Like, you can't be cautious enough, I suppose.
Yeah, if somebody knocks on the door, says room service, and you didn't know what a room service, you need to be calling the front desk and asking, why is room service at my front door?
Right.
And luckily they can send security up there if need be. The only place that I ever really had any issues and was told to not walk off the property was when we were in Mexico. We went to Playa del Carmen before it was the huge resort that it is right now. And where we were staying, we were kind of advised by the hotel. It was a family-owned hotel, and they said, look, just stay kind of in this little corridor area right here, and you'll be okay. You step off of that corridor area, you may have some issues and stuff. And I have friends of mine that have traveled back to Playa del Carmen, for example, and they've been on the resort and have been told the same thing. The resort would say, just kind of stay within the resort or stay within this area. Don't wander off outside. We went to Tulum. We went to Chichen Itza. Same thing. Tour guide said, nobody wander off. Everybody stay with us. Kind of a deal, just for safety purposes. And not that we wouldn't go back there again because of that, but at least that they were aware and said, don't wander outside of this arena here while you're in Mexico. But other than that, we have never really, luckily, I have the option from my own profession as a retired police sergeant, I'll make contact with a local police department, wherever they happen to be, come in and talk to them, say, hey, where should we go? Where should we not go? Where's a bad place? Where's not, what's a good, safe place? Where should we definitely not go? Kind of a thing. I have that benefit, but so do you as travelers. You can always go into the police department, introduce yourself, say, hey, I'm just, we're traveling, we're here, and is there any place we shouldn't go? And they'll tell you, don't go over here, don't go over there. This place is safe, this area is safe. So I think that from that perspective, you have an opportunity to make sure that you continue to empower yourself with a proactive approach to keeping yourself safe wherever you go.
Yeah, that's good advice, Michael.
Right. And I know Cindy and I have mentioned it before, like if you're going out of country, to register with the State Department to let them
always
know. My family and I, we had a trip planned in 2020, and we'd already registered with the State Department. So as things were changing, and we were getting notifications even before we left country or got there. But again, if things are popping up, or like you said, there's a demonstration they know about, or the trains are going to be impacted, you kind of get a heads up at least.
Yeah, the State.
Yeah, especially if you're registered.
Yeah. And then also do some research on the the types of scams and pickpockets that are happening in the area, because typically those things change all the time. But if you do a little travel research, lots of times they'll be telling you, oh, there's musicians or artist friends. Like, you can just Google the city you're going to and what kind of, problems they're having, and that just makes you more aware. You have your head up, you're like, I'm gonna walk around these. My daughter and I ran into some folks in Paris were near the Eiffel Tower where they were trying to get us to sign a petition. And we're being approached by 2 or 3 women at the same time. They were trying to separate the herd. They wanted to separate her and I, and I was like, why would we sign? We don't even live here. Why are you even talking to us? They were women. And they did pull her aside and had her. And as soon as I noticed that they pulled her aside, I told the woman I was talking to, bye. I walked over to her. I mean, she was an adult as well, but it was like, I don't know why you're doing this. And that made me really uncomfortable. I went home and I looked it up, and it was like, this is what they're doing. This is a new thing that's happening in the area. And a lot of times people are reporting that. So being aware that those things happen can make you more observant, so you're not getting pickpocketed, because I think that's all they were trying to do.
It's a proactive approach.
Proactive. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah,
well, and it depends on where you are in the country too, because you were just talking, Cindy, about armed guards and going where you safety. And one of the trips we had taken down to the Dominican, we had armed guards, but it was because the work we were doing down there, we were on the missionary field, and we were and not quite. I mean, I wouldn't book armed guards for that trip if I was going to go lay on the beach at a resort, probably. But it depends on what you're doing in those countries too, because and to them, it was weird for me as a traveler with somebody having a machine gun that was following around and watching us. But we were 32 women, and we were working down in an orphanage, and we said, come take us, come take our money, come rob us. And so, and so kind of being aware of where you are in the situations that you're putting yourself in, I think is very key.
Yeah. And it can be safe anywhere and dangerous anywhere. I think that's the note that we all know too. Just the places you hear about that sound, like that sounds dangerous. Like you said, Nikki, some of your family are asking, why are you going there? That sounds dangerous. I mean, I live in Los Angeles. It's dangerous here too. New York City, these are dangerous places as well. I don't really think they're that much more dangerous, New York City, Los Angeles, than it is in Belize. And they're other people. You just have to keep your head up.
Keep your head up. Watch what's going on.
Right. And what choices, just what choices you make. Again, and, do some research ahead of time. Is there going to be a big festival? Or even in the United States, if you want to go to a festival or see the ball drop in New York City, you're going to want to have your wits about you, because things may happen, just weigh out what you're comfortable with and how you're going to kind of approach it. Or
Well, it's in any community. I mean, you go to Phoenix. If you go to South Phoenix, you have to be careful when you go to South Phoenix.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm being gentle, but most people, unless you're from South Phoenix, or if you live in that area, you're an outsider from South Phoenix in certain areas, Maryvale and some things like that. You just don't. If you don't have any business down there, you don't go down there.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Just make it aware. This has been a great conversation. I think everybody's offered some really positive information in regard to helping us to protect ourselves, to keep ourselves safe, take a proactive approach to how we travel, and make us aware of our valuables and how to protect them as well. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add before we close?
Thank you guys for having me. It was awesome.
Thank you so much. It's been a great episode, and hopefully we shared some valuable tips. Thank you, Linda, for opening up about that story too. I think oftentimes you can't let your guard down until the last minute. I mean, and that's something to always think about. Cindy and I have talked about, even when you're traveling with a larger group of friends, sometimes we think, oh, well, there's 10 of us, we're going to go down the street for dinner. You're just as much a target then as you are when you're alone, because oftentimes we all, you all collectively just kind of be like, oh, well, we're together, but it's not so. So it's just always just.
I sometimes think I'm safer by myself because I'm much more aware than I am when I'm with a group of people, because I'm not paying attention.
You're right, because you
Yeah.
know, I know what I have good instincts, but
Yeah.
sometimes people will poo-poo me and I'll say,
Right.
yeah, but so yeah.
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 Well, you get relaxed when you're around your friends.
You do. And there, we feel
Yeah.
like there's sort of a false safety in being in numbers too, because that's what I think April and I've talked about. It's like sometimes you get in a group and you're like, we're cool, there's 6 of us. Sometimes 6 doesn't intimidate somebody. I mean, there was a story that I heard when I was in Vietnam, a family of 6 or 8 people, a multi-generational family was mugged, held up by a machine gun in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah. That's
And
right.
so
Wow.
like,
remember
so this
that.
kind of stuff happens in our own country. They were a whole group, men and women, multi-generational. I mean, if you have a machine gun and you're a gang member, you don't care if there's 70 of them, right?
Mm-mm.
So you're not
Exactly.
necessarily safer in numbers. Numbers don't make you safe. I think Michael's hitting it. It's awareness, awareness, awareness. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, again, I want to say thank you to everybody that's participated. I think that I've learned quite a bit, and I hope that we've shared some valuable insight into traveling with safety and with protecting ourselves and our valuables. So thank you for allowing me to be here.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Thank
very
you.
much.